Hi and welcome to Knitting on the Float. My name is Tracy and I'm your host. I am coming to you from a lovely day in the Vancouver area. The sun is out, but not too high in the sky, and the weather is definitely warming up. It is not gorgeous Toronto weather, 30 degrees Celsius yesterday and sunny. I am definitely in the wrong place. I will tell you, not for long, but that'll come in bits and bobs. I hope that you have had a fantastic week and that you are ready to sit down and take some time for yourself, work on that project of choice. Well, I share what little I can this week of what I've been up to. I have a couple of things on the couch, but for the most part, I've been working on secret test knitting. So I will share what I can of those two items, and then I've got some other stuff to chatter about which is knitting related. So get snuggly, get your libation of choice, and grab your project of choice, and we will get started in a few moments after I tell you where you can find me. I am Tracy RR on Ravelry, and I am at Knitting on the Float on Instagram. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. This is a podcast where I usually focus on knitting. Sometimes other crafts pop in. Last week I did have some sewing content, but most of the time it is about knitting. This week, it's a lot of test knitting, but there are some other things that will hopefully hold your interest, so welcome. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I am always so happy to have you come and visit with me, join me on either the couch or the red chairs. Scout is here beside me. She's sharing. She likes a little scratch behind the ears. Tasha is on one of the red chairs. So if you don't want to sit where one of the pets is, you can either sit in the other red chair or sit, like, snuggle up right beside me, and we'll do fine. So let us get started first. Oh, and welcome back. Let us get started first with some tea time. And today I am drinking out of my Country Mice mugs. This is a mug by Rendale Designs. I like to call this one my Make-A-Wish mug because it's like a dandelion, which, by the way, I've seen some dandelions in the grass in the Vancouver area. Again, happy spring things when you see the dandelions, and these always remind me of the little wishes, that's what I call them, that once a dandelion starts turning to seed, the wishes go in the air, you catch them, you make a wish, and all is wonderful, right? So in my wish mug is some Marks & Spencer extra strong tea, just nice and rosy tea, ready for me to say a cheers to. And oh, so many secrets on the couch today. So let us cheer to all of those wonderful secrets and maybe a few surprises. Cheers. I've been worrying a little bit this week because I know I don't have a whole lot to share because the two projects that I've been working on and have been putting all of my energy into are secret test knits. So I can maybe chatter a little bit about them and share the yarn, but otherwise there's not too much else that I can share. So I've pulled up some other projects that we will continue to chatter on or about on My Favorite Things. The first project that I am going to talk about is living in my lovely unicorn bag. This was made for me by my friend Lorraine, who is Lollyball. I think there's some numbers on there, but Lollyball on Instagram. And I love this little bag. It's so cute. It's got little side pockets that you can pop something in if you need to. I have popped a stitch marker on the string. It is a very small bag, which means it usually holds something pretty tiny, and right now it only holds my yarn because this is now a finished object. So I have finished this wonderful little project. It is a test knit. I am not sure when it is going to be released. I took some photographs today. I love this project. For this project, I used some Sherry Iris yarn. This is Platinum Sock, and it is a sock set. And this is I think it's a 75% superwash and a 25% nylon. And it is called A Quilt to Dream Under. And there's the ball band. Here are the yarns. So it is this gorgeous, it mainly is yellow, which is not always my favorite color, but it's got those gorgeous pops of pink and green in there, which definitely always sparks my interest. So this is the main color, and then the mini is this gorgeous, soft pink, which has sort of a blue undertone to it. And together, they have knit up so beautifully. So what I will do for now is I will pop these in here, and I will wait till this pattern is released and when I can share these again with you. So for now, they're going off to the side, and hopefully it won't be too long until we revisit my unicorn bag and I get to share the gorgeous project that was living there for a little while. The next project I'm going to share with you, I hinted at last week, and it is living in my Nancy Drew bag. But before I get to the Nancy Drew bag, I need to let Scouty out because she wants to go outside and look at the birds. Scout really loves to go outside and lie on the, I don't know, I call it a deck, a dock. I don't know what to call it. It's the little extra space that we have on the float home, that it has little wood slats, so it's like a dock, so water can splash out from underneath, but it's also like a back deck, so I call it the deck dock. I don't know. Anyway, she likes to go out and lie there, watch the ducks go by. Every once in a while, the swans will come and visit and hiss at her. She used to love when the swans would come and she would bark them over because that usually meant popcorn, but we have not been feeding the swans recently, and we actually haven't seen them, so maybe they are nesting right now because we are in April. Anyway, back to Nancy Drew, and I love using my bird leg bags, Nancy Drew bag. It always means there is a mystery afoot. And this is a wonderful new test knit that I am working on. And I told you that I would be casting something on sometime this week and that it would be living inside my Nancy Drew bag. I now have the pattern for the Handmade Sock Society Pattern 1. And I was really hoping to actually get it fully knit by tomorrow. That's not going to happen, and that's okay. The yarn that I am using is, and I'm going to share my yarn, but that is all I can share for now. You will be hearing some more information on the Handmade Sock Society Season 5. It's been 2 years since we had a Sock Society, and it'll be very exciting to revisit all of Helen Stewart's wonderful new patterns. We can't revisit them if we haven't seen them yet, but it will be wonderful to revisit the Sock Society and introduce a lot of new patterns, 6 of them, of this year's society. And as I said, I am working on Sock 1. So for my yarn, I decided I wanted to use a light, either pink or just a really light, soft colors. And for some reason, I thought this one had stellina in it. It doesn't, and that's okay. It's knitting up beautifully. So let me pop on my glasses because I'm going to need to see this to read the label. So the yarn I'm using is from Cauldron of Colors, and Sarah is the dyer of Cauldron of Colors. And I'm using 4-ply Mary Angel, and this is a 75% superwash, 25% nylon. And this one is called Aunt Jane's Festive Knitting. So that is written on the back. So cauldron of colors. I'm not sure whether Jane will be starting to do some more dyeing again. I think she said she might, but Jane is Cauldron of Colors on Instagram. And this is the lovely yarn that I am using. It's blowing out a tiny bit, but it is light pink, little bits of lavender, shots of purple. Every once in a while there is a shot of hot pink in there. There's some beige in there. And all I can say is it is knitting up and looking like a Cadbury cream, not a Cadbury cream egg, a Cadbury mini egg, because all of these lovely pastels, but not one of the Canadian mini eggs, a British one that has speckles. So the ultimate mini eggs. This one is knitting up to look like an ultimate knitting, not knitting egg, mini egg. Anyway, this is the yarn that I am using for my first pattern test from the Sock Society 2023, season 5. And as I said, I am absolutely loving how this is knitting up. Look at those shots of speckled pink. I am hoping that I will be able to share this very, very soon as a finished object. And yes, I will be able to share it very soon. I'm not 100% sure of when that will happen, but if you follow Helen Stewart, who is Curious Handmade on Instagram, or whether you get her newsletter, I am sure that you will very soon get a newsletter regarding the Handmade Sock Society, and you'll find out all the ins and outs, the theme, which I don't know the theme yet either. I have an idea, but I'm not 100% sure. And you'll find out the dates of release, and always a fun sock along collection. So many words to describe the Handmade Sock Society, but mystery knit. So definitely a fun time of year, and I always enjoy knitting Helen's patterns and the Sock Society ones as well. So much to look forward to. Anyway, that is what is living in my Nancy Drew bag. So this week, the only knitting that got worked on was secret test knitting. Not much to share, I know. Yarn and little tiny secrets. So we're going to focus our attention to something over on my right. I've pulled some things from the knitting drawers, and I've gone up to the stash upstairs to pull a couple of other things. I guess I'll dip a little bit into bits and bobs right now. I am going to be going away for a few days, a little over a week, and I am trying to figure out what knitting to bring. Now, I'm going to be very, very limited on space. I have a very small backpack. I need to fit my clothes in there. I need to fit my iPad in there because that's a very, very important thing. But I also need to fit my knitting. So thankfully, this one is done. I was really hoping to finish this project so that I didn't need to bring it with me and I could have it all ready and blocked for when I return home. But you know what? Nancy loves to go on road trips. So Nancy will be coming along on this road trip. We're not sure how she's going to enjoy being squished, but she's going to have to grin and bear it. And for the most part, I don't know, she doesn't really grin and bear it. She, you know, shocked faces and bear it. Do you see any grins on here? No, mainly shocked and wondrous faces. Anyway, she's going to have to grin and bear being shoved into my little backpack with my clothes and hopefully one of these other projects that is on the couch beside me. So I am going to bring Nancy and one other project with me. Maybe 2 if I can fit the yarn in and the needles. We'll see. We'll try. Anyway, the first project that I've thought about bringing with me, and I'm going to say this is probably not the main contender, but this is in my gorgeous, I'm showing you the wrong side, Rendale Designs Owls bag. And the reason I've pulled this one out, this is actually a 2-bag project. This is my goose eggs quilt, and this was a test knit. This was the first block, which needs to be reblocked from my goose eggs quilt. This is the one I did in January, and my February one, which is not even close to being finished, is right here. As I said, not even close to being finished. And I could bring my February block to finish off. There are some concerns with that though. And then I could also bring the March blue, and I believe it's this one here. That would be the March. We're now into April. Anyway, my March block, which would be done in April. Pause for a second. Greg, just checking on a few things. Anyway, this is my 3rd block, which, yes, I've called it my March block. We are into April, soon to be May. So I could bring these. Now, the only real worry I have about bringing my goose eggs quilt, which it's a nice small project bag. I could easily wind up these 2 yarns and fit them in here. My only real worry is that I am using my 7-inch signature straights, and I don't want them to get damaged or bent. So I don't want to throw them in here, and knowing that I've only got a small backpack, I just worry about bringing these. Yes, I could switch them out for a circular, but I've been really enjoying working on these. And again, as I said, this isn't the leading contender, though it is a project which would have been very nice to bring with me. It's easy to pick up, put down, and every time you finish one of the triangles, you move on to the next one, you feel like you've really accomplished something. It would be lovely to finish this block and perhaps even finish the March block. I don't think I'd have enough room to bring the yarn for the April block, although I guess I could always bring the April skein, whichever color that one is going to be. I believe the April one is this bright, bright pink. Anyway, something to think about. I only have a little over 24 hours to figure it all out though, so I'm on a bit of a deadline. Anyway, contender 1, though not the contender I'm leaning towards. The one that I am leaning towards is living in my gorgeous Firefly bag. This is a bag by Bags by Awesome Granny, and that is right there, Bags by Awesome Granny. And this is my Second Avenue wrap. The Second Avenue wrap is, I want to say it's a pattern by Amy Miller, and it is on one of the sheets. I think it's Amy Miller. If I'm wrong, I'll probably write it in anyway. Anyway, this is the pattern. I started this as we started driving towards Florida last summer, and I made fairly good progress on our summer holiday, and this is how much of my Second Avenue wrap I've gotten done so far. This is a gorgeous set that I picked up at the Knitting Loft in Toronto. And Scout is distracted by something. She's barking at probably ducks. Oh, there. I found my scissors. I wondered where those were. They've been in there for a while. The yarns that I have for this are, as I said, it's from a set that I picked up at the Knitting Loft, and this is their exclusive 2nd Avenue wrap kit. This one here, these are plucky yarns. This one is Ogre. Somebody wants in. This one is Golden Delicious. Again, plucky yarns. This one is lovely. It is called Burlap. It is a very soft green. This is called A Real Tangle. This one is Dreamy, and it just is. And this one here is Peony. I'm not sure how much of Dreamy and Peony I still need to knit in. So it may be that I actually don't even need to bring one of these skeins, which would then save a little bit of room, but I definitely need to untangle this little bit of yarn barf. Anyway, these are the yarns. There are 5 of them, so they do take up a little bit of space along with the wrap itself, which is slowly growing. But I would love to get this one finished. And as I said, I just need to go through the pattern, see if I need, I think I may be either through the Peony or the Dreamy. I'm not 100% sure, but easy to look through the pattern and figure out whether I can leave one of the skeins behind. But this is such a lovely wrap, so soft. And I don't have any of the ball, oh, you know where the ball bands are? The ball bands are inside. I think it's called Primo. I think this is Plucky Knitter Primo Fingering Weight Yarn. So that one's the burlap. So I know that the Knitting Loft has these kits back in stock, and they have the original kit, which I love too. It's a bit of a temptation. Anyway, that is my leading contender for my little getaway. And I just hope that I could fit this one into my bag. I could squish it, right? I just need to maybe get one of those vacuum seal bags, but you don't also want to damage the needles. The other great thing about this is it is already on a set of circulars, and I've got my lockers here. So I'm leaning towards this one, though it would be nice to work on my goose eggs quilt. I will tell you a little bit more about where one of these projects and Nancy will be going in the next segment, which is Bits and Bobs, because there were no brown paper packages this week. I got up to let the dog back in. She doesn't want back in at this point. But I realized that I had some more yarn because I have a few more Contenders on the couch with me. So I will quickly share that before moving on to Bits and Bobs. And the yarn that is on the couch right now, and I just grabbed a few skeins. I'd probably choose some other ones as well or reduce the amount. I'm not sure, maybe just even bring 2. Katona Shapius yarn. I am thinking that I might bring some needles and a couple of these lovely little balls of yarn and make some Wondrous dishcloths. And Wondrous dishcloth is a pattern by Jules Hill, who is So Sweet Violet. Always a lovely knit for travel, very portable. And if I bring these ones, I can then leave them behind, so I don't need to bring anything back other than my needles. if I bring these ones, I can bring them back with me and I will finally have some of my own wondrous dishcloths. So it might be nice to throw a few of these if I can fit them into that backpack. So where I said before, Nancy is definitely coming, and then it's either going to be my Second Avenue wrap or my goose eggs quilt, and if I can fit, if maybe a possibility of each of these skeins can make 2 wondrous dishcloths. So if I brought 2, and there's a reason I pulled the white ones down, I could then make 4 wondrous dishcloths while I am away. If I bought 3, I could make 6. You just want to fit all the yarn in, don't you? Anyway, now we will move on to bits and bobs. It's now time for Bits and Bobs, and this is my segment where I talk about anything and everything not necessarily knitting related. And it has been such a busy week, busier than normal, to the point where I really only had time to work on those 2 mystery knits. And of course, the Easter weekend was super crazy and fully loaded. I did get a little bit of knitting done here and there, but not as much as I would have liked. And then on Tuesday, no knitting got done on Tuesday because Tuesday was spent doing tax returns. And I pretty much spent from the moment I woke up until the moment I tried to go to sleep, and my mind was still racing after that, dealing with all those numbers. But basically, I spent my whole Tuesday working on not 3 tax returns, but 4. And the reason there were 4 is not because Nathaniel is working, but because I did our 3 Canadian tax returns. So 1 for myself, 1 for Greg, 1 for Isaac. But if you've been with me for a while, you will know that Isaac worked in Disney World and did the international college program this past summer as a lifeguard at the Disney resorts. I had to help him with his American tax returns. Oh, my American friends, how do you do it? Doing those forms was an absolute nightmare. I mean, I know that, you start filling something out, it says go to schedule this and, fill out this on the Canadian ones, but it just seemed a little bit more buried and the language was a little bit different on the American ones. And I hope I never, ever have to do another IRS tax form again. I hope we did it correctly as well. Isaac did get it, submitted it by the deadline. I had been telling him, you need to get this done, you need to get this done. Please don't leave it till the last minute. It's due on the 15th. We did it on Tuesday. As far as I'm concerned for those ones, that was last minute enough, especially since they were forms we weren't familiar with. We weren't sure whether we'd have to reach out to people. All that matters is we got that done. And then as soon as I finished with his tax return for the IRS, I then grabbed all of our receipts and all of our documents and worked on and completed our 3 returns for the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency. But I'm happy to say it is all done, though I will say no knitting happened on Tuesday because it was all about numbers. And then of course when I went to bed, my mind kept racing and numbers. Anyway, it is done and it feels good to get the taxes done. It really does. It's one of those things that you just think about it, and then, once you sit down, grab everything, you spend a few hours, it's done. It does feel so good. Now, I did mention that I will be taking a little vacances. I will be going away for a tiny little bit. It's a secret. Only a few people know about it. And I will be flying to Toronto on the red eye tomorrow night, and I will be arriving to surprise my father for his birthday. So my dad is going to be super surprised. My mom and my sisters both know, but he doesn't. So I'm going to show up at an event they're going to on Saturday, and he's not expecting it, so can't tell anybody. So I'm very, very excited. I realized a couple of weeks ago that I would be able to get a really great discount flight price. And I tell you, if it weren't for Lynx, who I'm flying with this time, Swoop or Flair, there is no way that I would be able to fly to Toronto as much as I have been recently. The flight prices are absolutely, I don't want to say ridiculous because I'm loving them, but they are so ridiculously low that I think it's more expensive to stay here than it is to go there. Not true, just kidding. Anyway, I will be flying from Vancouver to Toronto and staying for about 10 days and then flying back. And so that means that there will not be a podcast next week, but hopefully once I come back, I'll be able to share maybe one of those test knits. I don't think Nancy will be able to be shared quite right away. I'll have to get Nancy all blocked when I get back. And then we will see which one of these will fit in my backpack. The discount airlines are super, super cheap, but where they get you is if you want to bring luggage. So I am bringing a very small backpack, which is considered my personal item. I can do laundry over there, so I'll just be bringing a few items of clothing with me. And then of course, it's all about the knitting. How do you fit the knitting in that backpack? And of course, the electronics, they need to come as well. I am thinking I am not going to bring my lovely camera, which I am using right now, just mainly because of space. So I don't think I will be vlogging while I am away, although I have been thinking about maybe doing a vlog series in May where we get together each day and work on straightening up and sorting out and finally making my craft space a workable space. So I'm thinking I might do that in May and just slowly, day by day, taking little tiny projects rather than me sitting down. And it's kind of like doing taxes. You look at the job and you go, oh, that's a big job, I don't want to do it. Once it's done, you feel great, but it's taking all of the furniture, moving it to where you want it, figuring out the yarn stash, which has its own issues. And so I think I'm going to try and do that as a day-by-day small project in May and take you along with me. So thinking of that. One thing I'm super, super excited to share with you on this week's Bits and Bobs is in this lovely little device here. Back in January, Nathaniel and I were able to use one of those discount airlines. That time we flew Swoop, and I can't believe it, we were able to each fly Toronto to Vancouver to Toronto, return for $100 each. So crazy low prices. I'm loving it because it does mean I get to go home more often. But yeah, when I was in university, the bus ride home for the weekend was more than these flights, which completely blows my mind. Anyway, back in January, when Nathaniel and I were able to take this opportunity to fly to Toronto and do something special with U School, which is a ukulele organization run by Melanie Doan. And we did something really, really special. So on Instagram today, Melanie put something up at her @Doan Music School Instagram site, and I'm going to share what that is. I could just watch this over and over again. I think I watched it about 10 times through on a repeat because it makes me happy. So that little reel is from Instagram and from one of Melanie's Instagram pages. That's the @Doane Music School page. DoaneMusicSchool, all together. So if you want to get some sneak peeks in the weeks ahead till April 25th when this will be released, you can always follow Melanie there. So excited about that. I'll actually be coming home from Toronto the day that secret is released, and I will definitely make sure I have a copy of what you hear. And I'll tell you more on the next podcast, which will be on, I think so if I'm coming back on the 25th, will be the 27th of April. So we will do a podcast when I return. And then, as I mentioned, I might do May vlogs. Anyway, oh, there's one more thing, I guess. Isaac, I haven't really, so we did his taxes earlier this week. And I'm allowed to share that he got a role in a show in the Vancouver area. So he will be in a musical. I'm not allowed to tell you what musical. If you want to know, you can DM me. But he will be playing in something in the Vancouver area. And it's just for an honorarium, but it is definitely experience. And he will be a minor character and also in the chorus. So something very, very exciting for him. And also today is his first day lifeguarding at the local pool. Actually, it's in-service training because the pool doesn't open until next weekend, I think on the 22nd. But in the meantime, he will be doing lots of training, lots of swimming. They suggested getting a wetsuit because it's still April. It's about 9-10 degrees during the day. It is a heated pool, but it will be probably fairly chilly, especially if you're doing lessons or you're doing in-service training and you're in and out of the pool. So we got him a shorty wetsuit, and he has taken that because he is training from 4:30 to 8:30 tonight. It has definitely been a very, very busy week around the float house. I do have a couple of clips from the week. On Easter Sunday, it was not a very nice day at all. It was raining for most of the day, but in the evening, it cleared up, the sunshine came out, and there was a really interesting rainbow. So I did capture that on film. And yesterday, I happened to stand up and looked outside, and the beaver was just swimming by. So of course, by the time I get my camera, get outside, we get the rear end of him, and I don't understand why he doesn't turn around, come back and talk to us, but a little bit of footage from the river, and I'll put that right here. Is Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to anybody who celebrates. And I just looked outside off the float house, and somewhere over the rainbow is just right on the other side of that swing bridge. Anyway, sort of an interesting rainbow tonight. Very wide bands on this side of it, but a very beautiful way to end this Easter day. Look who's going for a swim out there. Hey, beaver, what you doing? He's ignoring me. But just swimming down the middle of the river. And over here, we have a couple of ducks just watching. That is all I have for Bits and Bobs this week. I am anticipating a busy couple of weeks. I'm hoping that I will be able to fit everything into my small little backpack. But I'll let you know how it goes when I do return, and I am excited to share what progress I've gotten on my knitting when I do return back to the podcast on the 27th of April. Thank you so much for joining me on Knitting on the Float this week. I hope that you've had a chance to work on that project of choice, take that time to relax, enjoy your cup of whatever. Well, I have chattered away about what little knitting I actually got up to. I do definitely have very big plans for the next couple of weeks. I'm just hoping that my project bags can fit into that tiny little space. It's kind of like the genie in Aladdin, you know. Big, enormous powers, itty bitty living space. The knitting is an important thing to bring. It definitely is. Anyway, I look forward to visiting again with you in a couple of weeks on April 27th when I am back, and we will see then what wonderful knitting I got up to. Wishing you all the best in the next couple of weeks, and I will see you then. Bye. I think what I might need to do is, here's Nancy. Here is my firefly bag, and if these are the two that come with me, maybe Nancy goes into the firefly bag, and we squish as best as we can without poking needles through bags, because poking needles through bags is not a good plan. But I really, really want to be able to take this with me. I am wondering, with my backpack, whether I might be able to just get like a carabiner and, attach this to the side of the backpack. So I'm kind of bringing two bags, but it's all attached. So maybe it's actually one bag, but then that allows me just that extra little bit of space. I love, love, love these discount airlines, and oh my goodness, the fares are unbelievable. However, they do get you if you want to bring your stuff with you, especially if it's knitting, because that's a really important thing to bring, isn't it?